welcome to Bayonne today. This show is going to remind you of things from the past, wake you up to things that we have going on now in Bayonne, and also give you a peek on what the future of Bayonne could be. One of the things that I always love to do is I love to talk to old friends. And sitting next to me is a very familiar face. This is, who are you?
Fred from Al Richards Chocolates.
Fred Stancampiano from Al Richards Chocolates. Fred and I go way back. We go so far back, it would even take us out of Bayonne. Fred and I are originally from Jersey City. We love Bayonne, though. We've been here for quite a few years. Fred has his business here in Bayonne. He lives in Bayonne. And as a former business owner on Broadway, I still live in Bayonne. And we've found that Bayonne is a wonderful place, not only to live, but to do business. Now, Fred has brought with us something that I think you obviously can see here. We have a tray of some of the most delicious, delectable treats that you can have at his beautiful store. And some of the most interesting things about the chocolate. One thing that I think we'd like to talk about, though, is how did you ever get involved in the chocolate business?
I was working as a musician, and in 1978, my brother was working for a newspaper, Richard. And both of us decided that eating and paying the rent was going to take some priority in our life.
Okay.
And we should probably leave our respective jobs. So we bought a small place in Jersey City, which is where I met you, called Schlewers.
On West Side Avenue.
On West Side Avenue in Jersey City, 1978. And there was a small candy section, which in the revenue from that section was bigger than the entire store.
Okay.
So we knew that that was a viable business. And in 1981, we found a spot on Avenue C.
I remember.
Between 50th and 51st Street, and decided to set up in Bayonne. At that time, Lillian's was here, and the gentleman, Oscar, who was a wonderful gentleman.
Do you remember where he went?
No, I don't remember.
When he left?
No.
He moved to Alaska.
And
I remember going into his little shop the week that he was closing. He was such a sweet man.
He was a great guy. And
everyone was so upset that he was leaving Bayonne and closing his business, but he was moving to Alaska. And the interesting thing, and it's another good tie-in, is that we all too often remember what we had, and we're always thinking that, well, you know, what's ever going to replace it? And the most interesting thing is that in Kismet, you found us and you decided to come into Bayonne and bring chocolates with you.
Right. And I don't want to slight Lillian's, because Lillian was a viable business.
He had fabulous chocolate,
and he did a great job, too. But we were uptown and he was downtown, so we set up uptown. We were there from 81 to 93. And
hold on, the location, because remember we want to talk about Old Bayonne.
Yes, it was between 50th and 51st Street.
Okay, right where Cafe Bello is now.
A couple of doors away. Now it's Robert's Cafe.
It's Robert's Cafe. So there you go. That's another interesting...
Great place.
Exactly. So one thing closed, one door closes, another one opens.
Right. And we found a spot we're at now between 39th and 40th. Right across from the BCB Bank.
Little history on that building.
History on that building is when we moved in, we had to have all kinds of toxic testing done, because it was a car place. At one time they sold a car called a Kaiser.
Okay.
Never heard of it. And it was a hair salon at one time. Then it was a bingo hall and all kinds of things.
I played bingo there.
You played bingo.
Yes. So I mean, once again, it's a location on Broadway that went through many changes. But each time we experience change, I know sometimes it's really not welcome, because we don't like things that aren't familiar to us. But in this particular instance, you took that bingo hall, which remained vacant for quite a while.
Yep, I understand there were a number of deals that fell apart because of the parking situation.
Okay.
There were doctors who had been interested, and at the time we found it, it had been vacant for, I think, about 5 or 6 years.
Okay, I remember.
And struck a deal with the young lady who owned it, and the rest is history. So where do you play bingo?
You didn't play bingo.
Where do you play bingo now?
But you gambled. You still, it's still, business is a gamble.
Well, we gambled in more ways than you can imagine.
Okay, and what ways would you?
Our conversation was, how do we get started in chocolate business? In Jersey City, the gentleman who was there purchased the chocolates, and we could never purchase enough chocolates from him to grow the business, because he was always short of product. So we decided that we would buy that I Love Lucy machine that everybody's seen, that long tunnel machine with the candy coming out, and went to Atlantic City.
Conveyor belt?
The conveyor belt. It's called an enrober, because it enrobes chocolate. Enrobes the chocolate.
Okay.
So we went to Atlantic City and played a system of roulette, which eventually failed. But before it failed, we managed to make about $3,500 on about $300, which is all the money we had in the world. So we made $3,500.
Just you and your brother?
Just me and my brother.
Okay.
Came back and found an enrollment from a gentleman in Jersey City called Myers Candy Place up on Bergen Avenue, who was looking to sell one. Got the enrollment into our place, looked at it for a good 2 or 3 weeks, trying to figure out how to turn it on. Couldn't even figure out how to turn it on.
Really?
But the gentleman who made candy for the person we used to purchase it from, we were in Jersey City, was very unhappy where he was and asked if he could rent time on our machine and pay us for the time.
Wow.
At which point we said, you can certainly have the time. All you have to do is show us how to make candy because we have no idea how to turn it on.
Okay, so you did it with a little bartering.
A little bartering.
Okay.
And we learned. He's since moved to Pennsylvania. There's nobody with the recipes that we have. The gentleman that he used to work for has since passed on. So we're the only one with these recipes, old German recipes, and taught us how to do it and set up in Bayonne.
Wow.
And couldn't get anybody in the store, so we decided to give it away with a weekly special because we couldn't sell it. And the specials when we first started, I believe, were $2.95 a pound, figuring that if they tasted it, they would somehow come back.
And did that seem to work?
That worked, and we still continue the special even today.
Okay, I mean,
Based on that.
and I know how many of us will drive on Broadway and just go by your shop. You make it very easy for us because we see that sign in the window.
Right.
My favorites really are the dark chocolate crackers, and I kind of like the pretzels too. You dip some pretzels there. Do you know what's the special this week?
Special, well, it ended today, being today is Tuesday.
Okay.
And it's nonpareils.
Nonpareils.
Yeah.
Okay, not one of my favorites, but I'm sure it's some people. What is the most favorite chocolate?
Raspberry jellies.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strawberries, raspberry jellies, right at the top of the list.
Now, now what you make, so I mean, everything that you make is made right on premises.
Made on the premises, yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of people doing chocolates locally, and I don't mean to knock anybody, because there are a lot of people doing chocolates who are not using real chocolate. Real chocolate, it takes some machinery and a little bit of knowledge, because there's a process called tempering that you have to heat it up, and it has to stay heated overnight. It has to cool on a gradual basis. So there's machinery with digital thermometers, and so we're using real chocolate. It's a little bit different than what most people are doing. There are a few people doing it, but not many.
Okay. Now, one thing that we really have to talk about is that we did notice that there was a time when you and your brother were on a hiatus, or a little bit of a vacation, or we'll call it a retirement.
Yes.
And that's why I thought it was interesting to have Fred come on, because we're so happy to know that you're back.
Thank you.
It's wonderful that, especially when you have an old favorite in Bayonne, sometimes people leave and you never see them again. But we're happy to know that you're back. So can you explain why that happened and how it is that you wound up coming back?
No. No, I'm
can't.
just kidding. I expect it. We had an offer that came to us in probably 2006, I believe. We were up for sale. A gentleman came in, made us an offer out of nowhere. And after
An offer you couldn't refuse.
we couldn't refuse.
Okay.
We're a little tough guy. Not a tough guy.
No.
But we had done it at that point, I guess, for about 25 years. And the idea of not doing it seemed interesting at the time. So we sold it to this gentleman, taught him the recipes. He was not happy. I think it was more work than he planned on. Called us up and asked us if we'd be interested about 4 years after the sale, and we said we would be. And on April 1st of 2009, we took over again. And here we are, happy to be here.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be back. So is my brother.
Okay, so we're very happy to have you back too.
Well,
you
thank
should
you.
know that. That's really important.
Thank
It's
you,
always
Diane.
nice to see an old familiar face on Broadway. A lot of business people. Some businesses closed. My business closed. Renard Boutique. We were in business for 25 years. We made clothes for Andy's wife. Thank you, Andy Balak and Joanne. We did lots of stuff in Bayonne. Reinvented ourselves too, because we stayed in the community, still stayed involved in the community. And to see you and your brother behind the counters, interesting. But more than that, okay, give those baby boomers a little bit of time to sit and relax and probably enjoy life.
Yeah.
And we came up with, Fred Kay, he came up with some new ideas.
Yeah, we came back with some renewed ideas and renewed energy. Decided to concentrate a little more on the green side of business. Interested in solar power. We'll probably be solar by next year, powering the whole place.
Wow.
Yep. Interested in the benefits of dark chocolate, a lot more fruit, dipping fruit, dark chocolate benefits with 72% cocoa. We had fooled around with 72% cocoa before we left. We could never get it to where we liked it. Making 72% cocoa wasn't difficult. Making it taste good took a little bit of time, so we came back and concentrated on that. Spent a lot of time dipping fruits and apples and oranges and strawberries like we always did, and pineapple, and concentrated on that end of the business a little bit more. Thought it was more interesting.
So chocolate's going green.
Chocolate's going green.
Okay. And we can probably say the stems are green. It's the same fruit for the most part.
Yep.
But you're finding that chocolate dipped fruit, it's something that people were doing at home more or less a while ago. I remember you for your strawberries, and I'm
Yes.
sure everybody else in Bayonne does too. But now you can go in and have any one of these. Now, is this on a regular basis? Do you have these as specialty items?
Strawberries are every day. On
Okay.
the specialty items you see there, which are pineapple, or strictly holidays and weekends right now.
Okay.
Until they take a place where we can do them every day.
Okay.
Right now it's by order and weekends and holidays.
Okay. And are you finding you're also using apples?
Using apples, oranges, strawberries, fresh pineapple. We're dipping them in chocolate, rolling them in coconut, rolling them in nuts, some cookies, and toasted coconut, a bunch of different things,
Wow.
just to make it interesting.
Oh, it's very, very interesting, and they look delicious. How many people do you have working behind the scenes that we probably don't even know about?
About 7 people.
About 7?
Yeah.
And are any of those people that have been with you for years and years, or?
2 of the people have been with us through the entire Al Richards process.
Really?
That's Michelle and Fred Blake, almost the whole thing.
Wow. And are they in Bayonne, from Bayonne as well?
From Bayonne, yep, and
Okay.
an integral part of the business, really important to us. They know every end of it. When we weren't there, they were still there. So we came back.
So they stayed. Okay, they stayed on.
Yep, and we're happy to have us back, I think.
I'm
And
sure they are.
they had to bring us up to speed when we got back, because we were out of it for almost 4 years.
Okay. But while you were out of it, were you still always interested in candy and in chocolates, or what had you hoped to pursue something else?
Yeah, we were actually day trading for a while. I spent a year at Bloomingdale's. But we're always in touch with the business community.
Okay.
As well as the old owner. We were friendly with him, and he'd call us in for ideas, and if he come across problems, he'd ask us our advice and stuff.
So you were kind of hands-on for him,
Yes.
trying to lead him into the business. Business isn't easy. I mean, we all know that it requires a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
Having had my own business, I know that, and continuing to work, you have to still be kind of passionate about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Have to
Okay.
stay in touch with the customers, because customer needs and desires and tastes change on a constant basis.
And
Go ahead.
Not only do they change, of course, I sell real estate now. I'm with a new real estate company. People move. Okay. One thing about Bayonne is when people move out of Bayonne, they'll come back for the things that they remember. The Judicki's donuts, the sprinkled donuts. You can go to another state and people can say to you, "Oh, those sprinkled donuts, I remember them."
Absolutely right.
Specific things about the city itself draw people back in. And you were telling me that you ship every day?
Yep, we ship all over the country. Lots of the people are customers who have moved out of Bayonne, who, just like I said, are very familiar with the things in Bayonne, whether it's Judicki's donuts or Al Richards chocolates or something from Bon Appetit. So we ship all over the country to old customers and to people who send it to their aunts and uncles, want them to try a piece of Bayonne. So we ship all the time. alrichards.com is our website. Everything is accessible there.
Well, the one thing that we want to do before we continue is stop for a PSA, which will explain to our viewers how they can go about buying some pavers down at the 9/11 monument.
Today I'm speaking with Frank Perucci, chairman of the September 11th Bayonne Remembers Committee. Frank and I are discussing pavers. These are stones that you can purchase and have inscribed with the information of your choice. You can memorialize the passing of a loved one or a happy occasion like a wedding or a birthday. Whatever you would like to have put on these stones, they are available at $50 each through the Paving Committee. Chairman of that committee is Jerry Kelly. The co-chair is Dolores Kelly. They can be reached at 201-823-4890 between the hours of 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. daily. Again, their phone number, 201-823-4890. We urge you to participate in this program. Remember those that are near and dear to you. Thank you.
And now the Bayonne, talking about the monument down at down on the old MOT. We've seen so many changes in Bayonne in the years that I've lived here. Originally coming from Jersey City, moving into Bayonne, seeing things close, seeing things open. We have so much growth going on, and there's so many things that we, I think, take for granted because we live here, and seeing Bayonne through new eyes is, for me, when I'm dealing with people who are coming here to buy new homes, people coming from other cities. They literally can't believe what we still have here. Nestled, surrounded by water, which I think is really a plus for us. The parks that we have, so much of what we have here, in addition to our own chocolate, our own Willy Wonka. If I'm sure you've been called that many times.
Many times, and worse. I've been called
worse. Well, we won't go into the worst part. But I mean, just to be talking about a town that has a chocolate shop. We have furriers. I mean, there are some cities that you can go into them. Their main streets really don't look the way they used to, but the main staples of what business is all about are still here. I mean, we have an incredible amount of jewelers, that's for sure. We have the new development that will be happening over on the highway. I believe it's going to be a Walmart coming in. We have a Lowe's. We have the South Cove Commons, where Stop and Shop is, which has become a very familiar place for people to come in and meet and see your neighbors. The movie theater. Oh my God! When was the last time you went to the movies?
In Bayonne?
Yeah.
Last week.
Last week?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the name of the movie theater?
Frank's Movie Theaters.
Frank's Movie Theaters,
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I mean, a movie theater was something that everyone talked about. It must have been for 30 years because certain movie theaters closed and, things changed, but we did wind up with another movie theater, which is wonderful. Yes. Some of the new restaurants that have come into Bayonne are really wonderful. You have more, I would think, more changes happening in such a small amount of space. We're literally 58, 60 blocks. There's a lot of stuff that goes on here on a regular basis. It's not what we're familiar with, but it's a lot of new changes that are coming in, I think, that make Bayonne a very exciting place to live in.
Yep. People we were talking about the economy. And I was telling you before, I went to Cafe Bella to have dinner. I had to wait 15 minutes for a table. Mm-hmm. Tried to get my hair cut at Mario's place, Creative Hair Studio. Had to wait 3 days to get my hair cut. I went to Rocky's place to have lunch down the new 8th Street Diner. I couldn't get a table. So I mean, there's business in Bayonne is okay. You have to work a little bit harder at it, but it's okay. Mm-hmm. Just have to do the right thing and take care of customers and tend to their needs. Certainly service is a major part of business today. Everybody, all the women are working and they need to be serviced. They need to be taken care of, without a doubt.
Well, once again, going back to the personal touch, and that's something that you find in a small town like Bayonne. My experience with new people coming in who I'll take them out and I'll drive them around Broadway or take them down to the South Cove. They can't believe, number one, the amount of supermarkets we have. Number two, that they can actually take their cars and drive to the supermarket, get their stuff. People living in other areas in Hoboken, downtown Jersey City, they don't have the same flexibility and their lives aren't as fluid as our lives are. We complain about parking, and it is true. There'll never be enough parking in Bayonne, I think, for us. You have the new ShopRite that will be opening. I was told they're going to try to be open before Christmas as a Christmas gift to the people of Bayonne. And if that happens, I mean, that area over there, everyone's been waiting and waiting for that to happen. That building went up in a flash. So many things that I see as being positive things that are changing. As baby boomers, we probably never thought we'd have to work as hard as we're still working.
Yeah, we've had that conversation, you and I.
Yes, we have. Yes, we most certainly have. But when you see how technology has moved us into a whole different way of being and thinking, but we're always returning back to what's familiar and what's comfortable, and nothing can be more comforting than chocolate, okay?
Very good.
Do you have a customer that would be your oldest, and I don't mean that old, A customer that's been with you through the years.
We hear every day. I had a young lady I will say, who said that she was one of our first customers on Avenue C, and that was 1981. Still with us, still a sweet lady. Yeah, we have plenty of old customers. There's not a time that there are not customers in the store who know each other. I mean,
Exactly.
everybody in Bayonne knows everybody. It's just a real family town, which is really nice. So you do a good job, it spreads. You do a bad job, it really spreads.
Oh, it really spreads, absolutely. Well, what is it, 6 degrees of separation? In Bayonne, I say it's 2 degrees of separation, because you'll always find somebody that knew somebody that
right.
you know.
That's right.
But if you stopped and you really thought about it, travel even to other cities, you don't really find that same kind of neighborhood kind of feeling. Some of the neighborhoods are changing, everything's changing, but anyone who's moving here is coming here because they love the fact that we're close to Manhattan. The light rail, we didn't even get to the light rail station down on 8th Street.
Yep.
You know, of course we would have loved it if they saved the original 8th Street station. My husband and I had one of our factory spaces was right across the street from that, and we watched them knock it down. And I thought it was sad back then. But now you see the 8th Street station rising up again, and that whole area has become a very, very busy area, and you're noticing that people that own real estate down in those areas will benefit from that.
That's right. The block that I am on, when we moved in 1993, was a real sore spot on Broadway, because my building, if anybody remembers, was just a red brick building. Because
I remember that, yes.
It was kind of unsightly. Across the street was a car lot who did a wonderful job. They sold. Next door to me was a gentleman who sold motors. And next door to me on the other side was Home Lumber and a gentleman who sold curtains, McGovern.
That's right.
Just about all of them are gone. Murray from Home Lumber has since moved on, decided it was time to go for him. The place next door to me has become a stucco place. On the other side we have a
John Graziano.
Graziano.
He bought that, and I remember when he bought the building next door to him and turned that, it was a little house.
That's right.
He turned that into another office for himself.
That's right. For a while, GLM was there, the insurance agency. Across the street now we have the Bayonne Community Bank, used to be a Kell. So the entire block has changed since we've been there.
That's true. Well, you did a remarkable job with the front of the building too.
And a number of people said to me, I don't want to take credit for it, but a number of people said that because that was such a eyesore, that nobody wanted to be on that block. Once that turned around, it was like, well, this isn't such a bad area. And one thing led to another. It snowballed. Now it's a nice area. And it made me think of it. Parking was easy at that point. Now there's a parking issue because there's so many viable businesses on that block. Florist on the corner, George does really well.
Oh, that's true. You have George on the corner as well.
So there's a lot of good business. Bayonne changes all the time.
Maybe you can do curbside chocolates.
We thought about curbside chocolates.
I mean,
Actually, it
why
wasn't
not?
a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
I'll put you on roller skates.
I would do that.
All right.
I mean, anybody that knows me knows I can turn I will just constantly just keep reinventing myself.
Put you in a mini skirt and roller skates.
No, we can stay away from the mini skirt. I can still do the roller skates though. I actually have rollerblades that I would use. That would not be a bad idea.
Okay.
But the best part of what I feel that's happening, not only in our lives, not only in Bayonne, not only in the world, we're on a little bit of a pause right now. Sometimes the speed and the pace that I was experiencing a couple of years ago with the real estate and with all, things slowed down a little bit, but it kind of gave you time to reevaluate what you wanted to do, decide for yourself, you know what, it was nice not working for a while, but I'm going to go back into it and I'm going to reinvent it and come back with something new. You're going to add a green quality to your business now by thinking of solar panels. The more we talked about going green and how in Bayonne you have such an opportunity for us to just be a model city for other cities to see what you can actually do when a lot of smart people who've lived here for a while look at what's a possibility. And when you talked about your solar panels, I totally forgot. When my husband and I designed our home over on the east side, we wanted to bring a green feature to our home, and we decided to plant a bamboo forest in our backyard to act as a natural shield in our yard to give us more privacy.
I'd venture to say you're the only person I know who has a bamboo forest in the yard.
In Bayonne,
in Bayonne.
I can tell you.
Maybe in the world. I don't know anybody with a bamboo in the whole world. I don't know.
You know me. I like to exaggerate. I mean, it's probably now 15, 30 foot high. They grew in a matter of 2 or 3 years. It grows very, very rapidly. Bamboo is fabulous for throwing out more oxygen and taking in the carbon dioxide and purifying the air. One of my goals is to try to get people over on the east side to consider doing some bamboo planting, maybe even the garden in Halecki Park. Have you ever been to Halecki Park?
No, I'm not sure where Halecki Park is.
See, that's a secret no one knows about over on the east side. Fabulous park. We now have rock formations, very meditative, very interesting little park that runs parallel with Avenue F and the highway. It's nestled in there. Not many people know about it. But that to me would be a fabulous spot to put some bamboo in to kind of buffer the
fumes from the back highway.
Yeah, because we have a lot more traffic, and I'm sure there'll be more traffic when we have the malls and things over there. Not only is it good for air purification, it's great for shielding sound as well. So, I mean, Keith and I went green, and we weren't even thinking about it. It's because we just love the look of bamboo. And when we saw what it did for us, I really can't say enough about it. And Mario picked it up for us. We went over to Mario, and you need to have a bamboo that's indigenous to the region that you're in.
Yeah, I thought bamboo was always a warm climate product.
It's not, and that's the thing that's interesting. I actually pulled up quite a few facts. There are 1,500 different species of bamboo. So depending on the type of bamboo you need, you would look on a chart that they have that zones out the entire country, so you know which type of bamboo would grow in your area. Great if you have a problem with water runoff, or and please don't we have a problem with moisture in Bayonne. But the bamboo plant is great for that because it acts as a natural sponge. So the things that we've talked about some interesting things. I mean, it's not only chocolate, it's more service.
Yep.
It's an old familiar face coming back. I don't mean old. We're both old. What can I say? But we're happy to see you back.
I thank you, Diane.
You're welcome, and I'm sure that we will be enjoying some of the wonderful treats that you brought.
I thank you for inviting me here. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome. We never talked about the calorie content.
Well, calorie content in chocolate is always what it was. I don't think they'll ever fool with calorie content.
No.
I think the most they have done, and this is probably since I've been in business, because in 1978 when we first started, chocolate was really a 5 and 10 item. It was what you bought at. Godiva came in, and at that point was changing the perspective on chocolates. Mm-hmm. But since then they've just gotten to the health benefits with the cocoa content and how it lowers blood pressure and lowers cholesterol levels and things like that. But calorie content's going to be what it is.
Well, this is what we'll need to do. We'll come back at another time, and we'll test it, and we'll let everyone know just what we think of chocolate. And we're so happy that you joined us, and we hope that you look at Bayonne through new eyes and realize we have a wonderful, bright future ahead of us, and we're happy to be a part of it as well. Thank you.
My pleasure.